Hi, I'm Saffron.
Hi, I'm Sora, and welcome to Strangers in Fiction.
We are two strangers who are strange, and we write fiction. So,
We also
this-
read fiction,
we
and
also
we
read
talk about
fiction.
fiction.
Yeah, so much fiction, so much strangeness. It's
Yes.
kind of the whole package of strangers in fiction. So, what have you been up to this week?
What have I been up to this week? I have no idea. I need to find my bullet journal and open it so that I can tell you what I've been up to this week. It's a
That's
new
so
month, so
organized.
that won't even help me. I'm kind of freaking out because I don't remember what I've done this week.
That either means that you've done absolutely nothing or loads. That's kind of how that goes.
Yeah. I've basically done both. Like I think I finally solved all of the problems in the current book that I'm writing, so I can actually write it
Oh,
now
that's
instead of
thrilling.
instead of banging my head against the wall of all of the problems. And of course, I'm still not back to drafting because I discovered yesterday that
Uh,
I cannot write the middle until I have written both the beginning and the end.
oh.
That's just how I operate. And I isolate all of the subplots in that sort of uh, rule, I suppose. Like I
Mm.
have to write the beginning of the whole story and then the end of the whole story, and then I can write the middle. And all of the
Hmm.
subplots and the arcs that happen throughout the story, because I can't tell a simple story with only one main plot. I have to have a bajillion subplots or I will go insane, which also drives me insane.
Oh my
But
gosh.
I have
Between
to
a rock
figure
and a
out,
hard place.
right? So I've had to figure out all of the little subplots. And I finally got this one to work, but I still don't know how it ends.
That is still
So,
very exciting.
yes, it's
That is very
really
good news.
exciting. It's very exciting because I was really hating the project for a while, and then I stopped hating the project when my
Mm.
beta reader friend reminded me why I love it. And also some other things happened, but like that was the last nail in the coffin of the writer's block. And then I solved all of the problems as of what, yesterday, the day before.
Hmm.
Woohoo!
That's very exciting. Because I
Yeah.
think writer's block can feel really suffocating because
Hmm.
you've got so much going on. It doesn't necessarily mean that you can't think of any new ideas. It's just having the ability to put them into words is incredibly challenging. I find that I can't like prioritize my thoughts very well. So I think about 50 things at the same time and then my brain goes, "Well, that's too much, so don't do anything."
Yes,
Yeah.
I understand that feeling intensely.
I'm sorry to hear that. So, do you? I can't remember if I've asked you this before. Do you have like a specific way of getting out of writer's block, or do you just kind of ride it out and wait?
I bang my head against the wall. I demand of my brain to give me new ideas. And it's that it works sometimes.
Well, sometimes it's better than no times.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
But eventually I will what seems to always happen is I will bang my head against the wall of this idea or this problem or whatever it is, this lack of ideas that I have
Mm.
for like hours on end, for days on end. And I
Mm.
will just absolutely obsess over it and just try to solve the problem or try to come up with a new, brilliant, clever solution. And then as soon as I step away for like 5 minutes and go do the dishes or take a shower or just stare off into space, my
Mm.
brain goes, there you go, have an idea. I'm like, oh, thanks, brain.
There is something to be said about doing something that doesn't require a lot of thinking
Mm-hmm.
that will absolutely help something
Yeah.
creative, or even if you're trying to solve a problem, because it allows your brain the freedom and less pressure to come up with that solution or, to give you the motivation to do something else. If nothing more than to escape the monotony of doing that, like, brainless task that you're doing.
Right?
I always find as well that I am the kind of person that will only do things when there's something else to be done. So, like, if I think, oh, I've got all these emails to get through, I'm like, well, I better write some of my work. I better write something because I've got all these emails to do and I'd rather do literally anything else. So, yeah.
I'm not guilty of that. What are you talking about? Productive procrastination? Never heard of it.
I call it the procrastinatorium.
The procrastinatorium.
Like, you're procrastinating. And that's where I do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that like a combination of procrastination and motivation?
Kind of.
Okay.
But not really. It's a little bit like masturbatory, but from a brain perspective, not a body perspective.
Okay, that makes far more sense.
Yeah, where I'm like, oh, I better just quickly play this bit of my video game so that I don't get behind. Not that that's a thing, but yeah, that's my procrastination.
Okay. I heard the B as a V instead. So.
Oh, I mumbled it and said it really quickly. You did hear that correctly, but that's not what the word is.
Okay.
Yep. Well, yeah, I'm really glad that you were able to get through that because it's incredibly frustrating to feel like you can't produce the thing that you're producing creatively because really it's supposed to be for fun.
Mm-hmm.
Like something that's an outlet, and when you can't achieve that, it's so stupid.
Yeah. And that was a large part of what was so frustrating about it. I was just like, I'm just trying to have fun. Why can't I do this? It should be so simple. Fun just happens. Oh my God.
Is that your inner monologue voice?
So yeah, it was very stressful trying to have fun and failing. I felt like, how am I just not human anymore? What happened? Yeah.
No, the problem is you're very human because humans get caught up in all sorts of bullshit that we don't want to get caught up in, and that's just part of the parcel. If you were a robot, you'd be able to fulfill those tasks without disruption.
Right, but then I wouldn't know what fun is because I would be cold and unfeeling.
Oh, unless you were programmed to simulate fun and recognize what that might look like.
But can you imagine, though? Like, you can't actually experience fun. You're just simulating fun.
Have you ever been to a family gathering? If
that's a loaded kind of question.
Like, I do love you guys. That was the first thing that I could think of that wasn't offensive. Anyway.
Okay. Yes, I have been to a family gathering once or twice in my life. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yep.
Simulated fun. Here we go.
Yeah. Or, you know, like an organised day of things.
Oh, the fun-genda. Yeah.
Oh, I can't do it. I can't do it. Or, I tell you what really, really, really irritates me is when I go to an event, which doesn't happen very often because I like to be inside. Like, let's say, for example, a shower of some description or a birthday party or something, and there's an activity and you're peer pressured into taking part when you don't really want to do star jumps in the middle of somebody's living room, but everybody else is making you feel bad for not doing it.
Mandatory fun.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Can't stand it. My sort of fun is sitting down and eating and or reading and or playing video games. If it's not one of those things, I'm not going to be... My heart's not in it. I'll do the star jumps in your living room, but I'm really mentally elsewhere. Trying to resolve my writer's block somehow.
So what have you been up to?
Such a handsome question.
Right.
I keep getting sick recently, so I've not been as productive as I have been previously. So I have a really long list of stuff that I want to achieve, and there are things that I haven't done that I really wanted to have done already, and I'm just coming to terms with the fact that I can't manage all the things that I've promised myself. So I've been preparing personalised written interviews for writers so that I can enhance their profiles on the website. That's been fun because I've got to sort of deep dive and research each person. I've looked to see if they've had other interviews and what sort of things they've been asked so that they're not asked the same thing again. I've made some changes to the website. I've been gradually changing the formatting of stuff just for readability because I basically made a lot of design choices that were cute in my opinion, but they were not functional, which I've had some feedback on. It just prevented people from using screen readers and things like that, which I don't want to do. Like, nothing that I do, I want people to be excluded from being able to use. So I'm trying to make those changes so that anyone can use the platform I have. I've done a little bit of writing. I've been working on the short horror story I think we were talking about previously in the last episode. I can't remember if I actually mentioned it or not. So I did a little bit of work to that. Lots of different fingers and lots of different pies. It's been nice.
And just so listeners know what you're talking about, the website that you're futzing around with is idiosyncrasy.com, right? That's
yes.
yes.
Thank you. I forgot that people aren't inside my head and they can't see all the words I'm thinking about. But yeah, idiosyncrasy.com. So this is the website that I've created to sort of showcase self-published authors and authors that have been published through indie presses. There are lots of different things on the website. I'm building the resources section for writers, so editorial services that I know people have used and they've raved about, or free reviewers. There's some podcasts linked on there as well. So yeah, there's lots of exciting stuff to come. So that's what I've been doing.
Sweet, cool. So
nice.
One of the really exciting things that I've done recently is I read the draft of Blackout that you sent me.
Oh,
the first 2 chapters. Yeah, I think it was 42 pages.
Yeah, something
PDF.
Like that.
Yeah. And I got to the end. I read it all in one sitting.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
I mean, I started it at one point and then I got distracted and didn't touch it again for like a week and maybe 2 weeks.
That's fine.
And then I sat down with it again and I read all the way through it in one sitting because it's 42 pages. You can read that in an hour or less, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a ride. Like,
good.
I did not know what to expect, apparently.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. It's very, what's the word people are using now? Voicey. That used to be pulpy. Yeah, pulpy. It's very much like you're in somebody's head, they're talking and they're relating a story to you, and it's very clear, it's very vivid, and there's a lot of personality in it. And
that means a lot, thank you.
Yeah, I love Rory. She's a badass.
Isn't she?
Yeah, she's fantastic.
She's who I wish I could be. But not in the situation that she got herself into.
Right, yeah, I would not opt for that at all. Mm-mm. Like, it was terrifying.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I had some very, very similar feedback that they like the voice of the, of the story. And I greatly appreciate that, because that is the type of book that I like to read. Obviously, there are a lot of grammatical problems and structure issues and things like that, but I want to get the story out before I start worrying about polishing it.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
What I sent you is really just the beginning of this universe that I've created.
Mm-hmm.
So what I really wanted to do was to lead the reader down a bit of a memory lane, but then also I want people to feel panicked when they're reading it. I want them to worry for the character. I want them to feel the fear that they're feeling, and to be sort of looking over their shoulder when she's looking over her shoulder, and I'm hoping that will come through, especially in the final edit of it. But yeah, I'm really glad you enjoyed it. I appreciate that you read it, and I've sent it to a few people that haven't looked at it and never spoken to me again, so I just assumed it was terrible.
Oh. Yeah, no, I would not say it's terrible, not at all.
Cool, that's a good start.
The first chapter that you're calling a prologue, I disagree. I don't think that that's a prologue. I think that's chapter 1. Okay. It's a flashback, sure, but the flashback continues after chapter 1, so it's still part of the story, in my opinion. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's still a necessary part of the story, and a prologue is something that you can not read and still appreciate the whole story, as far as I understand it.
Okay.
Yeah. That's the difference between a prologue and a chapter 1.
Okay, I'll change it from prologue. I appreciate that feedback, because I'm just finding my feet.
Yeah, for sure. I want to ask questions without giving spoilers.
Ask them anyway, and I'll cut out anything that I think is gonna ruin the plot for people.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
then you can
for
still
sure.
ask the questions and get the answers for yourself. And then if I'm
Yeah.
like, well, then I can be like, I could just maybe do a voiceover in answer to the question going, this is redacted.
Yes.
Okay, shoot.
Okay. Did you intend to set it up so that it feels like the whole story is a metaphor for overcoming trauma?
Yes.
Sweet.
Yeah.
You did a great job with that.
Thank
Like
you.
it's there, but it's not ham-fisted, and I really like that.
Thank you. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wanted to create something that was exciting. I don't think I've provided you with the end to Aurora's story in the section that I sent you, and that was on purpose.
Okay.
So there's quite a lot that happens after the section that I sent you, but I was just curious to know if when, you read the first, what was it, 8 or 9 chapters, I think it was, sort of what your impression was, because I know I'm going to find it hard to categorize this, because there are, as I've said previously, there are sci-fi elements, there are thriller elements, and there's like zero romance in it. I've got no interest in adding that into it, because I don't think it matters in this particular story.
Yeah, no, Rory's already in a relationship. She's obviously very happy with her husband, so like
Yeah.
there's no real potential for a romance there.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so we hear from Rory for a good chunk of the book, but I'd like to say about halfway through, maybe just over a third of the way through of the story, we don't hear a lot from her after that.
Okay. I wasn't really expecting that. I expected to be like, this is her story, and then when her story's over, the story's over.
Nope.
But that's cool. That's something to look forward to.
Yeah. So there's, without trying to give too much away, obviously. So the idea is that I wanted you to kind of experience and go on this journey with her, and then find out actually why is this happening and what is the cause of this problem that she has eventually later down the line, and what is the driving factor toward that problem. So we learn a bit more about who she works for and how that can potentially be a problem in the future as well. So this will take the form of points of view from police officers, witness statements. I'm going to have a mixture of like statement style content. So rather than it being a chapter, it will be what a police statement would look like. So,
cool.
Yeah, so I want to give a mix of media so that people can see what could potentially happen during an investigation. There are going to be a couple of climaxes. I've decided. I'm going to give my readers multiple climaxes.
People like those.
Hey, I'm kind of like that. I'm a giving person.
Multi-climactic.
So I'm curious to know, obviously we'll have to skate around some of the content because I want people to be intrigued, but there's no point in knowing about everything if you intend to read a book, in my opinion. From your perspective, it sounds like it was quite a lot different to what you thought it was going to be. What surprised you the most, if surprised is the right word?
That is a good question. I think I don't know that's maybe surprised is the right word. But I'm not. I tried not to go into it with too many expectations. I just wanted to be taken on whatever ride I was going to be taken on. And the thing that I guess threw me for a loop, had me asking the most questions, had me the most freaking terrified. I've been reading a book in a long time.
Oh, thanks.
Was the monsters, the as yet unidentified monsters. They are humanoid. They are terrifying. They are literally one of my worst nightmares ever.
That's exactly what I wanted, so I'm
Yeah,
glad, but I'm also
okay.
sorry.
No, it's totally fine. It didn't look real in my head. It looked very like bad CGI. So there
good.
you go. Yeah.
The beauty of reading horror.
Yeah. But like that's the one thing that I still have the most questions about, I think.
These monsters that Rory comes into contact with, the reason why they're so scary for me is that I try to imagine I'm terrified of looking out a window and seeing a face there. That's
Mm-hmm.
like a weird irrational fear of mine. So I try to imagine what would be the creepiest fucking thing I could see if I looked out of the window in the dark, and what would cause me to feel panicked and confused, and also felt like a bit of a fever dream almost.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I came up with the description. So I kind of did some sketches of what I would like this particular monster to look like, because as I've said previously, I'm a visual person. So they have very big teeth, their breath smells like burning rubber, they've got thin stretched skin over their bony bodies, and they're very tall. I can't remember if I left the description in there, but I did previously describe them as having a jaw that unhinged like a Pez dispenser.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's in there.
It's awful, isn't it?
It's
There's nothing
terrible.
that I was like, that's awful, I'm keeping it. And that's
Yes,
kind of where we went with it.
absolutely horrifying. Grotesque.
Yeah.
Grotesque is the only word for it. And I love it. It's fantastic.
Thank you. So, I
Uh-huh.
mean, there is also the inclusion of these pillars of teal smoke that
Mm-hmm.
are seen out of her hotel window. So that is the color was chosen on purpose, and I will tell you that off the podcast, because that I fear that it will give quite a lot away. But that is also to signify something that happens to her during a traumatic experience as well.
Okay.
I made some very intentional choices in terms of the creation of the monsters and the description of the surroundings. And as I said in episode 1, I did drive around Canterbury quite a lot just to get a feel of what it's going to feel like walking through these areas of the city in the dark, because it's predominantly a student town, which is mirrored within the content of the book, especially when Rory is sort of traveling around and driving these teenagers around and they're spilling out into the road, and that is a significant part of her sort of journey through the city in various parts of the book. But yeah, in terms of the prologue, or I'm sure it'll be chapter, it's going to be changed to chapter 1 because I respect your advice. But what happened to her in that car park almost is identical to what happened to me in that car park. So it was one of those things where I was so shaken up, and I thought it was the potential that I couldn't have made it home that night, and it was just something that really stuck with me. And I thought, I don't know how I would have handled it, and the book I did kind of spiraled from there, from that
Mm-hmm.
horrible feeling of my fingers gripping the steering wheel, white knuckling it all the way to Dover, and it was just, yeah, it was horrible. So I thought, oh, just writing about that on its own is kind of like, okay, whatever. But what if it was this?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, had a lot of fun doing it. I'm
Yeah.
still working my way through it and trying to figure out what order I want to do the sort of witness statements in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going to be really interesting because the story is going to be very different from different people's perspectives, obviously.
Yeah.
Especially, we know that Rory's losing it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I don't blame
yeah.
her. She's had a shit
No.
time of it.
Yeah. Yeah, she's having a really bad time. And it's none of it's her fault, poor thing. But
She's
she's
just trying to get
coping.
by.
Right, but she's coping so well. Like she's just handling shit and taking the whole situation in stride. And that's very cool. That's a protagonist with a lot of agency, and that's very hip and trendy right now. People like it when things don't happen to the characters so much as they react to situations and have control of their own fate and whatnot.
Mm. I'm
So
interested to see how you feel about my choices when you read further on.
me too, because like the I swear I reached the end of the last page and I went no, because I was out of stuff to read.
it perfectly leads on to the second book that I'll be creating in this universe. I can't remember if I previously mentioned it, but I'm also very vaguely working on a series of short stories set in the same universe that kind of have little mentions of technologies and things within the first book to kind of link it together, so you can see how these things that happen within the book impact people in the outer like world compared to the sort of main characters of the stories.
Awesome.
Which I think will be fun, but that's not going to happen very quickly. I just keep thinking about it and not really doing a lot about it.
I don't know what that's like at all.
Oh yes.
I'm really excited to read more. So please finish the book.
Oh, I'm gonna finish it.
Okay.
My goal is to, so when I'm going to be visiting family across the whole of April, and there are going to be lots of periods of time when people are going to be working and not available, so I'm going to use that time to put everything else on the back bench as much as I possibly can and actually enjoy writing, because I'm going to be going back to Canterbury and it will give me some more fresh inspiration. I figured I'd go on some walks around in the fields around the area just to kind of give myself a little bit of an creative tonic.
Yeah, that sounds really nice. I'm excited about it now.
Yeah, good. Yeah, looking forward to it.
Cool.
It will be published by the end of the year, I've decided.
Okay.
That's happening. Whether I like it or not, it's happening.
Okay.
That's my goal.
That's really exciting. That's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't know what I'm doing by the end of the year. I'm hoping to have book 2 of Interdimensional Bachelorette drafted.
You will.
But, okay. All right. Thanks.
I've willed it into existence. It's happening now. You don't. Really
you're manifesting it for me?
I am.
Okay, sweet.
Yep. I'm manifesting it for you.
Awesome.
So I don't believe in manifestation in the sense of like, let me make a mood board and it will happen. I do greatly believe in, if you set forth with the intention that it will happen, you will make the choices that will lead you to that point.
Okay. Yeah, that tracks.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, I know it's totally possible to be able to draft a book in the amount of time that's left in 2025. There's quite a bit of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that drafting book 1, when I was actually working on it, even though it took me 4 years, the actual time itself where life wasn't interrupting was only about, I think I did the math and it was 18 months maybe.
Okay.
And, now that I have a lot of the setting stuff figured out, now that I have the premise stuff figured out, now that I've tackled all of the problems that I've come across, I should just be able to speed right through it and just draft it. And that's a horrifying prospect for some reason, but it should be possible. So that is a thing that I can do, and I am hoping to do.
I believe in you, and I know that you'll do it.
Awesome. Well, now there can be no doubt.
I don't have any doubts in you. You just have to trust that you're gonna do it, and you're gonna have a month where you can't possibly produce anything because you're stuck on something, and then you'll have a really, really productive week, and then maybe you'll stop again. And it's never going to be a linear process in most things. Healing, creating things, producing stuff, whatever it is, it's never going to be linear. Even the most organized people will come across road bumps, and that is just part of life. So I think you are on a really good path to get it done, and you're in good stead to be able to achieve it. And you've also got extra time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
For that leeway.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. I feel better about it already, just knowing that you believe in me.
Oh, I really do.
Yay. And I'm excited for you to have Blackout published by the end of the year. That's fantastic.
Thanks. It will happen because I've said it, and if I don't, I'll be very embarrassed.
Yes, there's a lot to be said for accountability. It's one of my favorite motivators.
I am only motivated by it if I'm letting down anyone other than myself.
Yes.
If I'm letting myself down, I can let myself down all day long. I've got no problem with that whatsoever. Yeah. Promise to get up early. Sleepy Saff doesn't give a shit. She doesn't feel guilty. Okay? But if I miss something and it affects somebody else, it deeply upsets me.
Yeah, no, that's devastating. I totally understand exactly where you're coming from. Ugh. I don't have a sleepy Sora. I have a pre-coffee Sora, and she is a cunt. Gives absolutely no fucks.
Perfect first use of the C bomb on the show. I'm very proud of you. I'm glad one of us did it.
Yay!
The seal's been broken. That's so funny. Oh my god. Oh, I wish coffee affected me in the way that it affects you, in the sense of like reanimating the corpse.
Yes.
I can have a coffee and then have a nap.
Oh man, I would love that so much, because then I could just drink more coffee and be happier.
Yeah.
But no, I've limited my caffeine intake to 1 caffeinated beverage a day. It's insane.
Where's your problem? You gotta keep it topped up.
Yeah. I used to have a much higher tolerance for it, but now it if I even drink coffee and then tea later in the day, I'm like jittery and wired, and
Oh, I still get heart palpitations. I'm not pretending like it doesn't affect me in any way, but I can still absolutely have a nap while having a tiny little stroke.
Oh my
god. Okay, I have to ask, as a Brit to an American person,
okay,
what tea do you drink?
Right now I have, I think it's Twinings.
Oh. Is it an English breakfast? What is it?
I'm pretty sure it is English breakfast. It might.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Do you put milk in it?
Yes.
Okay, good. I'm just making sure.
And I do prefer it hot to cold.
That's literally the only way to make tea.
Well, yeah, that's how you make tea. I mean, if you want it to be cold, you then have to refrigerate it. Why?
I don't want to wait longer for my tea.
Right, exactly.
The kettle to boil is already torture for me. But the tea doesn't hit the same. Like, if you get it here, I don't know what it is. It's probably all in my head, but I bring my tea over. Like, I have a bag of actual British tea from Britland, and it just tastes different.
Yeah.
If you ever want some, I can send you some.
Oh my god, I would love that so much.
Oh my god. Okay, when I go to England, I will bring back some Red Label. It's from a supermarket. It's the supermarket Red Label, just bog standard black tea, and it's infinitely better. It's
I believe it.
I'll bring it.
Oh my god, I would love that so much.
See, now's the accountability. I've said it on a recording, so I have to do it.
Well, okay, it's not real. It's not real until this actually goes out in a few weeks. But yeah, that's very exciting.
I'm excited for you. I'm looking forward to the feedback. Do you put sugar in yours?
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. That's acceptable. I'm fine with that.
As long as there's also milk, it's fine.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
I've got nothing against black tea. It's just not as nice. It's just not as nice. I'm not a fan. I used to so I was a chef for years, and tea and coffee are like the lifeblood of a chef in England, as well as various other illegal substances, which I did not partake in. I'd just like to point out, but whatever. I don't know why I said that. So my first proper job as an actual chef, where that was my job title, I worked for this ex-army chef who, he's not going to listen to this, was an absolute fucking knob. He was awful. Really horrible dude. Great chef, horrible person. But we would use, I can't believe I'm saying this, we used to fill up the kitchen sink, which is probably 5-6 times the size of a normal kitchen sink in your kitchen. We'd fill it up with hot water, throw a bunch of tea bags in there, and then stir it with a big spoon, and then we would just get our cups and like dip it in like a ladle and drink out of this like communal tea swill. And at the time I was like, wow, what a cool like cool dude thing to do, and now I'm like, oh, germs.
Yeah, that's both fascinating and horrifying.
Yeah. If this was years ago, years
Yeah.
and years ago. But yeah, and another place that I worked at, we used to use pint glasses for our tea because the mugs were never big enough.
Mhm.
You know, like those old school glass pint cups with like a
That's
big
awesome.
handle.
Yeah.
Insight into my weird past of doing weird stuff.
That's awesome. I would have never thought to make tea in the sink.
Most people wouldn't have done because it's really strange.
Mm-hmm.
It's a strange choice. But when you've got like
massive
6
amount
chefs,
of tea.
Some of the chefs I worked with were humongous, and they
Mhm.
loved just chugging tea. And also, I'm so used to having like hot, cold tea or like lukewarm tea that I don't necessarily drink it hot anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so used to forgetting about it because I'm doing something else.
Yeah.
Tea things.
I've spent at least like 30 minutes in a fugue state of some kind. I'm sure it was just like 5 minutes into the podcast recording.
Yeah.
30 seconds ago. I don't know what happened to the last half hour.
Do you know what? I think it's because most of the things that we've talked about today have been like fever dreamish.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Not connected to reality, strange choices that people make. I think that definitely helps.
Yeah.
To pass the time.
Just a little bizarre.
Yeah. I usually just check out by staring at the wall with zero expression on my face.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, disassociating is the bomb, especially when you're waiting for stuff to happen. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, I never get bored. I haven't been bored since I was a child. And I mean that with sincerity. I haven't been bored as an adult. Because my brain doesn't stop, really. Like, even when I check out, it's still thinking about stuff.
Yep.
So...
That's how I spent most of my childhood. Checked out dreaming about stuff. And that's why I eventually started writing that shit down. Because... like I have this urge to establish canon, basically, so I can like continue the daydream and pick it up where I left off. That's what stories are for me. They're solid, static daydreams.
Oh,
yeah,
that's really lovely.
Are you sure?
I think so. The thing is that any form that people can create that allows them to get through life better off than if they didn't is a great thing.
Coping mechanisms are.
I mean, if you want to give
that's what I'm
label,
hearing.
If you want to give it a label, that's fine. But this, honestly, it's a fucking hellscape out there, and if we can escape with fiction, then I will absolutely do that.
Yeah, same. I agree. Wholeheartedly. I mean, like, okay, the coping mechanisms that don't hurt anybody.
Yes,
are awesome.
That's very important.
Yes.
That's very important.
Mm-hmm. You start hurting yourself, that's no bueno. Start
Don't
hurting
do that,
other
just
people.
write a book instead.
Right.
Which is a different kind of pain. Depending on what publishing route you want to go down, and if you can afford to pay for an artist, or if you're gonna... Anyway.
I need that on a t-shirt. Write a book instead. It's a different kind of pain.
Hey, look, I'm looking into getting... nope, wait. Those were not they were the right words in the wrong order. I'm looking to get into creating bookish merchandise, because there's some, but there's not enough. So maybe we should do a little spin-off thing.
Yes.
Capitalism. Delicious capitalism.
Yep. So...
Oh, sometimes I just hate myself, and it's fine. It's just the thing that happens. Oh, damn.
I understand.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I don't agree. I don't think you should hate yourself, because I don't hate you, and I don't think there's any reason to hate you. So,
it's because you can't see inside my head. But thank you. That means a lot to me, and I don't think anyone should hate themselves at all either.
Yeah.
It's just that sometimes I really do.
Yeah.
and I can't stop that. But I mostly don't. I just sometimes do, which is
I
better
feel that.
than all the time, which is what I used to be like. So improvements,
I
growth, all that sort of jazz.
Yeah, I feel that deeply. I
Mm.
totally understand where you're coming from.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was going crazy
I
for a
mean,
second.
it's not good, but like it's good that we relate to each other. Yeah.
Hmm. One day we're gonna have to change the name of this show to Friends in Fiction,
Yes.
or Strangeness in Fiction,
Yes, I
or
agree.
just strange. Well,
I'm trying to think if I've asked all of the questions that I intended to about Blackout. And I think I have. I
okay,
think so. Yeah. I mean, like obviously I still have questions. I want to know what fucking happens. So I need to know what fucking happens.
okay.
And I
I
need
guess I'll have to write the book then.
right? I have to understand like why is this happening? And like why is it happening like this? Why did it have to be that?
All in good time, Sora. All in good
Right,
time.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. But like I can't think of anything specific that I wanted to ask you. I know you mentioned, I don't remember if it made it onto like a recording or one of the episodes that we've
God
talked
knows.
about things. The feedback that you got from I think it was your mom. She
Yeah,
said
that was in
that
episode 1. Mm-hmm.
yeah, she said that Rory should have put on some shoes
Yeah.
when she broke into somebody's house to
Yeah.
take a piss.
Yeah.
And I can see where she's coming from, and I agree that Rory should look for shoes and maybe a change of clothes since she's in her pajamas running around barefoot. But like maybe she doesn't necessarily find anything that will fit her because she already found a hatchet in the shed.
That's
So it
true.
would be kind of serendipitous if she also found somebody's shoes and clothes that would fit.
Okay. I'll take that note and I
Okay,
will add that to my list of things to consider when I am redrafting.
sweet. That's really exciting. Like you don't that's one of the fantastic things about indie press and indie writers is that like we're just regular people,
Mm-hmm.
so we have the opportunity to actually give each other feedback that
Yes.
could actually be implemented, you know?
Oh, it's
Like
brilliant.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
brilliant.
that's very exciting because you don't get to go up to, an author and be like, "Hey, I really like this about your book, but
Mm-hmm.
you should have done this instead."
Oh,
That's my
yeah.
opinion. It's
Mm-hmm.
my opinion and it's totally valid. And, like I'm not an expert, but here's something that maybe you didn't consider. Famous person. People don't get to do that.
It
So, yeah.
there is something very exciting about it, and I think that is one of the motivations behind all the stuff that I'm doing is that it also brings value to the book that they've written, to me anyway, to
Mhm.
understand that person a little bit better and the motivations behind the choices that they made.
Yeah.
And I just love that the indie community are just mavericks and they just kind of do what the fuck they like, and that really speaks to me. And I think you used the word pulp. I love
Yeah.
pulp fiction. It makes me very happy. The film and the type of book. Yeah,
Yeah.
big fan. Big fan.
Mhm. Yeah, it's all very new to me, but I'm really getting my feet wet and I'm enjoying it a lot.
I'm so pleased to hear that. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you'll never discover every indie writer. You will never meet every indie writer. You'll never read every book, obviously, which is very sad because there's not
Yeah.
enough time in the day. But you also get to see how people are navigating this space, and it's very cool to see people grow or to develop and change what they're doing or stick to their guns and do it the way they want to do it anyway, not caring about the quantity that they're selling, but the fact that they got to bring their story to the world and not have to answer to anybody but themselves. That's just something incredibly
Mm.
cool about that.
Yeah. Very cool about that. There's a lot that's really cool about that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a very like melting pot energy, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. Adverbs. I will never follow the advice. Get rid of your adverbs. That's the hill I will die on. I will keep my adverbs forever and ever.
You make the decision that you think is right for you and fuck everybody else.
No thanks.
Not literally. Figuratively fuck everybody else.
Yes. I still had to make the joke.
That's fine.
Okay. Yeah.
I just wanted to make it very clear.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to do that, it's up to you.
I mean, that seems like a very irresponsible decision to make, and like that's a really huge commitment. Fuck everybody else. Like,
yeah. Also a source of great soreness, I imagine. Not with the healthcare in this country.
Soreness, and like that's just the first problem that comes to mind. Like, how are you going to fit that many people into your schedule, you know?
Oh, I'm glad you did schedule. Do you know what? The logistics was bothering me as well. Because there are some people that don't use Google Calendar, so I don't know how I'm going to arrange anything with them.
Right?
Scrap that. We'll do it figuratively.
Yes. Yes. Fuck
That sounds
everybody
like too
else.
much effort.
Figuratively.
Oh dear Lord. Oh, I think that's probably time. That's a cue for us to stop before it gets any worse.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to everyone that is here that lasted this long. If you've reached this part of the episode and you've not skipped anything, because that's cheating, thank you for continuing to listen to these two strangers talk about fiction. It really, really means a lot. And make sure you do subscribe. Like and subscribe, guys.
Yeah. Follow us on social media.
Yeah.
Click all the buttons.
Yeah. Man.
Oh my god. We have a nifty new sign off.
Yes.
If you guys want to hear it? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. How did it go? I forgot already. Okay.
Dude, that is on you. That was your sign off.
Yeah, they came up with it, so I should be able to remember it. Hang on. So stay tuned for more unhinged talk about the unreal on the regular.
Oh, and that's where I'll fade it.